What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and we've got a little bit of a rumor roundup for you today. Now, it is April 1st, and I do recognize that it's an awkward date to be making a video like this, but the internet has been set ablaze with a wash of new Tyranid potential leaks that have been making the rounds. Now, allegedly, these leaks have been being taken down as they're posted. This one specifically is from the Warhammer 40k subreddit and was removed shortly after it went up, which, I don't know, could be some sort of weird psyop or very elaborate hoax, or points to the fact that these leaks may have some credibility towards them and could be relatively close to the truth. Now, according to the leaks and the poster originally on Reddit, this person got a chance to look at the new Tyranid units in the index, as well as their reference datasheet cards. So we get some information about upcoming Tyranids. Now, obviously, I do want to stress that this is coming with a huge grain of salt. There's no photo evidence here. This is just someone recounting what they allegedly saw, and obviously could be entirely false. As a note as well, I'm not on camera today for this one, mostly because I am away streaming a tournament this weekend. So if you want to watch some 40k action live, you can come on the channel and hang out with me. I'm going to be streaming the semifinals and finals the day after this goes out. That's going to be Sunday the 2nd. All right, let's dive into these new rumors. And what I'm going to be doing is going through the trailer and trying to pick out what I believe the models are when they're shown off, if they're shown off. I think some of these have been rumored elsewhere and potentially pictured elsewhere in other images that Games Workshop has been posting, and some of them may show up in the animated trailer that we got last week at Adepticon. All right, let's jump in. First off, we have Paragons. These are allegedly like small Hormigons, coming in sets of 5. They have an ability like Tau Shield Drones to absorb damage for other units, but not very good in combat and have an objective control stat of 0. Now, I don't know exactly how this is going to work in the new edition, but I absolutely love the idea of a unit like this. I imagine that objective control works kind of like objective secured, where if you have a unit on an objective and your opponent also has a unit there, then you will compare your various amounts of objective control. This means that an OC0 unit would be able to hold objectives if it's on that objective by itself, but any enemy unit basically counts as objective secured against it, since they will have an OC value and they will outnumber it if they touch that objective. Now, this is a super cool design lever that the team could use to make very either cheap and sort of ineffective units, or super duper combat oriented units that are very bad at holding objectives. You could have units that are very disruption oriented, fast, hard-hitting melee units that are relative glass cannons that can't really be used to take opposing objectives. They can run up to the objective and they'll have to kill everyone on it in order to actually take the objective themselves, which makes them good at dealing damage, but less good at actually swinging the score of the game. And that sounds absolutely awesome. Now, the next one is obviously the one that I'm most excited about because it was super sick in the animated trailer. This is the Magistrant. Apparently, this is the most powerful Psyker in the game behind Magnus the Red, and cements Tyranids as one of the strongest psychic phase factions in the game. Apparently, it has psychic abilities that work in every phase, and has its vassal spores, the 2 little brain bug things that go with it, that it can sacrifice to reroll psychic tests. Now, this speaks to me that the psychic test mechanic is still in the game, and psychic tests and denies will probably still be around if this is true. That's interesting because it's not really the narrative that we've been getting from the design team, but the design team has been skirting around the issue quite a bit, describing psychic powers as abilities, weapons, or special rules that don't necessarily need a psychic test. In fact, the word psychic test I don't believe have ever been used in any of the preview material so far. Next up is the Viragon, a medium-sized, bulbous, and spider-looking thing with tentacles, according to the description. It effectively has the fly keyword, comes with a gross marker on the sprue similar to the Genestealer Infestation node, and has something to do with making objectives dangerous for opponents to hold. I think we saw these guys in the trailer. They were the sort of larger units that were eating Space Marines that had that weird kind of comedic moment with the Librarian. Shrikes are the next one. These are a fan favorite and a favorite of mine. I've actually never put them on the table because being a Forge World model in the past, they've never actually really meshed with the mechanics of the Tyranid faction very well, but they're warriors that have wings, which is really cool. Allegedly, they come with the usual weapons for warriors, but can only take 1 set, meaning that they are dropping some offensive output for their higher speed. and have a new gun that works like a sniper rifle. That sounds pretty cool, and honestly, if they can work like maybe a Synapse version of a Ravener that's fast and has a lot of attacks, but they trade some of that additional attacks that Raveners have for higher damage weapons like bone swords, that would be absolutely awesome, and I think give us a really powerful melee option in the faction. The Cerevex is huge and shown allegedly as towering over monoliths. Apparently it has 3 big spider legs, a massive body with a gun slung underneath it, 2 big tentacles which split into more tentacles at the tips, kind of like a toxicron, I guess. It's described as a centerpiece model that is a Lord of War, not very bulky but extremely tall, and comes in at toughness 10. This is, I don't know how to feel about this. I know we've seen some previews that look like large, super heavy monsters that may be added to the Tyranid range, but a big toughness 10 thing that has 3 legs rather than the normal 6 limbs that Tyranids have doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know, maybe 3 of the legs are limbs and then there's a gun that's 1 leg that doesn't really seem to fit with the Tyranid biology as it stands, or the promo model as it was shown to the person writing the report. Now, we've also got some news in this leak about newly resculpted models. The Tyranid Prime is one that has been discussed quite a bit. This is allegedly what is shown in the trailer that's fighting the Terminators. It has abilities that apparently mesh well with melee-oriented warriors or shrikes, and is a must-take if you're relying heavily on them. That sounds pretty cool. Tyranid Primes have always been kind of the odd one out in the Tyranid range. The fact that you make a lot of Tyranid characters like Primes and Neurothropes out of the kits, respectively, of their infantry, means that you're always left with a weird number of infantry besides them, which means that, I don't know, it's just difficult to build up those large units. The Tyranid Prime himself has always been really bad at melee, which doesn't really make sense. And a strong melee character who's not as big and expensive as a Hive Tyrant has always been kind of an open slot in the Tyranid roster. We have Broodlords, I guess, but they've always been kind of just very bad. So if Tyranid Prime's got a new kit, maybe some wings, maybe some stronger melee output, and you could make them into real powerful Smash characters with the new enhancement system, that would be super cool. Termagants, we've already seen these guys, and apparently they'll have Ripper Swarms coming with them. The league talks about them moving out of phase, which we already know about, so that's not that exciting. Hormagaunts apparently had a big glow up. They're getting a back pair of Scything Talons that's bigger than the vestigial ones that the current model has. That's very similar to the 2nd edition Hormagaunts, which makes sense to me given that a lot of these designs look like they're harkening back to the old 2nd edition Tyranid models. These apparently look like velociraptors that are leaping forward and have a built-in bonus similar to the old Hydra trait for outnumbering foes. Hormagaunts are in dire need of a resculpt, and this sounds extremely believable to me, just given the fact that in the past, Hormagaunts have looked and worked like this. Biovores and Pyrovores have got an updated design, coming with 3 Spore Mines in a kit. That's cool to see that they would be put together in a unit. I wonder almost if the units we saw throwing big plasma balls at the enemy was actually a Pyrovore in the trailer, rather than being an upgraded Biovore unit. The Screamer Killer is one that we've come to expect from the trailer. Apparently they've done it justice with a posable torso, unlike the current Carnifex kit that looks extremely dynamic. That's good because honestly I think the old classic 2nd edition design for the Carnifex was absolute garbage. I know it's a classic model and it's old, but it really shows its age. And if they're able to take that design and make it into something that's remotely cool, more power to them. Allegedly the Bioplasma has the pistol, spread, and rend keywords, which all sound pretty good, and an aura that doubles battle shock penalties, which is basically what they do in the current version, so that sounds pretty believable. The Lictors are apparently getting a new resculpt with multiple head options, a longer tail, and some abilities, including the inability to be shot unless they're the closest unit, like old 8th edition character traits. This would make them extremely powerful at holding objectives in the backline. I think that would be really strong. Flesh hooks allegedly stop characters from falling back from them, and they're able to deep strike and infiltrate. Honestly, more infiltrators in the Tyranid faction would be insane, so this sounds pretty good. Although, according to the rumor, the Death Leaper is being discontinued. On top of that, we have a potential spoiler for the Tyranid Combat Patrol box, including a Tyranid Prime, 2 units of Tyranid Termagants, so that's probably 20, some Hormagaunts, I imagine being 10, some Paragons, which is probably 5, a unit of Shrikes, and a Viragon. In terms of the general mechanics, apparently Swarms are back and better than ever because of the Endless Multitude keyword. Shooting has been toned down, although their anti-vehicle shooting exists. Probably heavy venom cannons I don't think are changing too much, but their Flamer-style weapons are even more powerful. And the Cerevex, the huge Titanic Lord of War, has a Flamer build which can do massive damage. Tyranids in general are going to have lower strength and AP than other factions, but have much more attacks and a more powerful psychic phase than most of the other factions in the game. I think that sort of keeps with how Tyranids have been working so far. Their attacks are usually pretty good, but mostly in the middle, but at extremely high volume and have good synergy. In the past, they've been an all-rounder, trying to do damage in every phase, and this doesn't seem like much of a change from that trope. And with that, that's all I have to talk to you about today. Let me know down in the comment section what you think about these potential spoilers, and if you think I got the photographs for the units right out of the trailer. I'm not entirely sure about that. We'll find out, I guess, though. With that, thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Big thanks to everyone who supports the channel, either over on Patreon at patreon.com/TacticalTortoise, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subscribers. All you people are great, and I love you. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.